Call roll.
Okay. Commissioner Dalton?
Here.
Commissioner Doe?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Navarez? Commissioner O'Connor?
Here.
Vice Chair Broadwater?
Here.
Chair Wynn?
Here. We'll now call the Garden Grove Housing Authority meeting. Do we have any oral communications? Hearing none, we'll go to the consent items.
Madam Chair, you have 2 items, and it's recommended that these items be acted on simultaneously.
Do we have a motion?
Move both items.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Motion received 6 yes votes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 3, public hearings, none. Item 4, items for consideration, none. Any matters from commissioners and directors? Okay. Hearing none, I will now call for the adjournment of the Housing Authority. The next meeting will be on Tuesday, January 26th at 6:30 p.m.
What are we going to do? Keep everything.
Nice stool. Put it right there, put it in that spot.
Okay, we'll call the Garden Grove City Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Councilmember Broadwater?
Here.
Councilmember Doe?
Here.
Councilmember Wynn?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones?
Here.
Mayor Dalton?
Here. We'll have the invocation by Keith Jones, Public Works Director, and the Pledge of Allegiance by Mayor Pro Tem Jones. Okay, I'll open oral communications for the council and the agency. Mike Cosada.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, citizens. I just wanted to bring up a couple of points and comments. First thing I wanted to bring up was, did you know that for every 100,000 jobs that are lost in this country, $300 million is shortfalled out of the Social Security Fund every year? That's quite a substantial hit. The state of California is currently having a $25 billion budget shortfall. In the last 5-year budget, it has increased 30%, or $34 billion. 80% of that state budget goes for education, health, and social services. I've looked at the Garden Grove budget for the past 5 years as well. Spent a lot of hours looking at those. And I think that the 5% cuts we have made, in my opinion, aren't good enough. I think we can do a lot better. I looked up the job listings in Garden Grove the other day, and this is what I found. Fast food, 4 openings. Medical field, 5 openings. Manufacturing, 1 opening. Gas station, 1 opening. Sales rep, 1 opening. I was hoping we could do better than that. By law, 20% of the redevelopment funds must be spent on low-cost housing. I don't see that being done in the city. Can the staff share with the community where that's being spent? As I see the budget, I see about 5% being spent on low-cost housing. Am I missing something? Also, the interest on our loans are going up by millions of dollars every year. And I know the loans are based on depreciation of city assets, but isn't this like the mess we got into with the borrowing on the homeowners? The city's income is down and will go down over the next few years. Some claim as much as 20%. I don't see the cut to the city, only the citizens. Also, I see in the report that the city is claiming a $17 million shortfall in revenues for the next 2 years in the water. Is that what the $2 and whatever increase per household is supposed to cover? The math doesn't add up to me. Am I missing something again? Earlier I mentioned the 5% cut, which is $8.9 million that the city made for this year's budget. Along with that, we're spending $6.7 million in reserves. Doesn't that really make it a 1% budget cut? Are you sure we can't do something better here? I want to express as a citizen of Garden Grove that, in my opinion, I think this city is, for the most part, a very well-run city. And I think you guys all do a fairly good job, in my opinion. But we got a lot of hard work to do, and I just don't think we're doing enough. I'm hoping that the city can start thinking outside of the box and come up with more savvy ideas to create jobs, maintain revenue, and promote the ideals that the citizens are expecting of our leadership. Happy New Year, and I look forward to working and speaking with you in the weeks and months to come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike. Elizabeth Pignon.
I think it's a public hearing item.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think that might be the only card.
Oh, okay. Since that's the only card I have then for the oral communications, I'm going to close oral communications at this point. The next item is written communications, but I understand that item's been pulled.
Is that what happened?
Kim called me.
Oh. Yeah, you can either, they're not quite sure on the date, but you can either accept a request for some date in the future, or we can bring it back when they have a date.
Well, I think we could probably accept it tonight. And
Yeah,
go
I think
ahead
you'd
and then
prefer
let
that you
confirm the
accept it
date.
tonight, and then we can nail down.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, a motion and second, call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Okay, we'll recess the council and go to the agency.
Ms. Baylor, will you please show everybody here? We've done oral communications, consent items, we have none, public hearings, none. Items for consideration, 4A.
Mr. Chairman, you have one item, and that's an affordable housing agreement with Dale Apartments for the purchase of affordability covenants for an apartment development on 12632 Dale Street. And Katie Angel is here to give a staff report on this item.
Good evening, board members, chairman. The item before you tonight is an affordable housing agreement with Dale Apartments for the purchase of affordability covenants on 6 units as part of a 25-unit multifamily housing project. On January 24th, 2006, the City Council approved a development agreement with the developer for the project that provided for an increased density on the project in exchange for restricting the rents on 6 of the units to an affordable level for low-income families for a period of 30 years. The density bonus agreement is listed on tonight's City Council agenda as item 4D. The proposed agency affordable housing agreement would provide for the purchase of covenants that would extend the affordability period for an additional 25 years or a total of 55 years. This is because under California redevelopment law, units must have a minimum affordability term of 55 years in order to be counted towards an agency's inclusionary or replacement housing obligations. In consideration for placing these affordability restrictions, the agreement provides for a $200,000 forgivable loan to be financed from the agency's low and moderate income housing fund. It is recommended that the agency approve the affordable housing agreement and authorize the agency director to execute the agreement on behalf of the agency. That concludes staff's presentation.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to move approval of the item.
We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Any matters from agency members?
Just like to point out on that project, it's great seeing new construction coming up out of the ground, and It's great seeing new affordable housing coming up out of the ground on that site, so.
Okay, at this time, we will convene the session. We do have a closed session tonight. There's a number of matters, conference with Real Matter property negotiations, and we will come back and report that. And so at this time, we will adjourn.
Okay, we'll reconvene the council, let the record show all members are present, and we'll go to consent items.
Mr. Mayor, it's recommended that items 4A through 4F be acted on simultaneously unless a separate discussion or action is requested by a council member.
Move the balance.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Okay, item 5, public hearings.
Mr. Mayor, you have a series of public hearings having to deal with the Buena Clinton redevelopment project and the community center project area. For ease of information, we're going to have one staff report trying to describe the action, but you'll be actually conducting 2 separate public hearings. So at this time, I'd like Katie Angel to give a staff report for both of these items.
The proposed ordinances would allow the agency to offset some of the financial burden imposed by the state government takeaways of redevelopment funds in fiscal years 2003-4 through 2005-6. During those fiscal years, the state required the agency to make payments to the Educational Augmentation Revenue Fund, also known as ERAF, totaling nearly $3.8 million. In consideration of the financial hardships imposed upon agencies, the legislature included within the same bills that required the agencies to make the payments provisions that allowed agencies to extend limits on plan effectiveness and the receipt of tax increment up to 1 year for every year a payment was made under certain conditions. The proposed ordinance would therefore extend the limit of the Buena Clinton redevelopment plan and the community project area plan effectiveness and the receipt of tax increment up to 3 years for each component area. It's generally 1 or 3 years, depending on whether certain conditions are met. This would allow the agency to mitigate impacts due to the loss of local redevelopment agency funds in the city of Garden Grove and recapture funds, thereby extending opportunities to eliminate blight in the project areas. As a clarification to the agenda staff report, staff finds that the funds used to make the ERAF payments in both fiscal years 2004 and 5 and fiscal years 2005-6 would otherwise have been used to pay the cost of projects and activities necessary to carry out the goals and objectives of the redevelopment plans. And for the record, I'll read the title of the ordinances. The first one is an ordinance of the City of Garden Grove, California, amending the redevelopment plan for the Buena Clinton redevelopment project under Senate Bill 1045 pursuant to Health and Safety Code 3333.6E2C. An ordinance of the city, second ordinance, an ordinance of the City of Garden Grove, California, amending the redevelopment plan for the Buena Clinton project area as authorized by Senate Bill 1096 pursuant to Health and Safety Code 33336E2DI. The third ordinance for the community project area. An ordinance of the City of Garden Grove, California, amending the redevelopment plan for the Garden Grove community project area as authorized by Senate Bill 1045 pursuant to Health and Safety Code sections 3333.2C and 3333.6E2C. The fourth ordinance. An ordinance of the City of Garden Grove, California, amending the redevelopment plan for the Garden Grove community project area as authorized by Senate Bill 1096 pursuant to Health and Safety Code Section 33336E2DI as to the original and 1974 areas. An ordinance of the City of Garden Grove, California, amending the redevelopment plan for the Garden Grove Community Project area as authorized by Senate Bill 1096 pursuant to the Health and Safety Code Section 3333.6E2D2 as to Trask Avenue area, 1976 amended area, Brookers Chapman area, Brookers Cattell area, and the 1979 area. It is recommended that the council hold a public hearing.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, hearing none, I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this matter?
Mr. Mayor, is this the public hearing for the Buena Clinton redevelopment plan, the first item 5A?
Yes. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
Now you can hold the second one.
Okay, I'll open a public hearing for the second item. Anyone here that would like to speak on that matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing on that ordinance also. Yes.
When you're ready to make a motion, we'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 5A1 and
Sure.
5A2 at the same time, and then we'll do a separate motion for the others.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion if,
I move the issue.
Second.
okay, I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Okay, now we'll need a separate motion for the community center project area.
Okay, that,
I'll move the issue.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Okay, next item.
Your next item is also a public hearing, and that's a request by Victoria 2, business owner of the Con Restaurant, to modify the conditional use permit, including a revised security plan and a request to extend the hours of operation. And I believe Chief Polazar will be giving a staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. You have a staff report before you, and you've had the opportunity to read it. I'm just going to add some things that came up. Since March, there has been a significant decline in police calls for service at the Con Restaurant. Officers have been called to the restaurant 12 times, twice for alarms, once for a domestic dispute, and 9 times for loud music. There have been no identified promotional events at the restaurant, other than the one scheduled in late September that was canceled. And staff has seen a noticeable decline in patrons at the Con Restaurant. Officers report it is not unusual to see only 10 to 15 customers in the business on any given night. The business appears to be operating exclusively as a restaurant rather than a nightclub, which has been the root cause of the overwhelming number of calls for police service over the past decade. On January 5th, 2010, Ms. Chu submitted a proposed security plan, a third version, which is acceptable to the police department with a couple of exceptions. This plan, in synopsis, requires Ms. Tu to have a California licensed security guard present once her occupancy reaches 50 patrons. She has agreed to provide one additional security officer every time her occupancy grows by more than another 50 patrons, to a threshold of 200. If she exceeds 200 patrons, she has agreed to provide 6 security officers, and if the occupancy exceeds 300 patrons, she's agreed to provide 8 security officers. The exceptions that I spoke of just a minute ago to the security plan submitted by Ms. Tu are, and I point you, it's attachment A, page 2, Roman numeral 1, physical plant, subsection D. The plan that she submitted states, minors will not be permitted to enter the bar or dance floor or patio at any time that alcoholic beverages are being sold. This wording that she put in here is in direct violation to CUP Condition 7, which states that no minors are allowed in the bar patio at all. So we would strike D in Roman numeral 1 under physical plant on page 2. The other is found on page 5 of her submitted security plan, Roman numeral 6, titled Closing Procedures. The first question is A, last call. Her plan states that 1/2 hour before scheduled closing time, last call, quote unquote, will be announced to all patrons and staff. A drink order may be placed and delivered at last call, but no further orders will be taken. patrons may continue to enjoy their beverage until lights on is implemented. Security posts will continue to be named. That wording that she placed in there is in direct contradiction to condition 11 of her current CUP, which states that all alcohol sales and service must stop 30 minutes prior to closing. And then the other is B, lights on. Her plan states 15 minutes before scheduled closing time, lights on will be announced and all interior lighting will be turned on. This wording is in violation of her condition 19 of her CUP, which states that lights shall be turned on 30 minutes prior to closing, which is the same time that sales and service of alcohol must cease. Two conditions of the conditional use permit, which were implemented in March of 2009 at the council meeting, have not been met. And these two are condition number 12, which stated that by June 1st of each year, the owner shall provide to the community service director an audited report of sales, ratio of food to alcoholic beverages for the establishment's immediately preceding fiscal year. As of tonight, the owner has not submitted this report to the community services director. The other item is condition number 39, which states that the business shall provide proof to the police department that all members of the business staff have completed the LEAD training through ABC. That's the License Education on Alcohol and Drug Training. As of tonight, Ms. Chu has not provided any proof of completion of this training to the police department for her employees. As it relates to the security plan submitted by Ms. Chu, we believe it is sufficient to address any concerns that arise. We recommended a sliding scale for assigning security guards based on almost 20 years of experience with the con operations. Their problems have been tied directly to the types of events and numbers of patrons, not to their business hours. The vast majority of fights and disturbances over the years have occurred at or near closing time. That's when hundreds of patrons from the con, many of whom have been drinking all night, end up in the parking lot. With hormones and testosterone raging, alcohol on board, and occasionally rival gang members present, the combination has proved to be explosive at times. We've had dozens of officers deployed around the con parking lot at closing time acting as security for that business, just to keep the peace. These same officers are drawn from every section of our city just to babysit the closing of one business, and it takes them away from what their assigned areas of responsibility are. The con is in fact a restaurant that over the years has behaved like a nightclub, and that is the issue. They are licensed and CUP'd as a restaurant. Staff suggested numerous times to Ms. Chu apply to be a nightclub and that the city would then work to condition that use appropriately. This, of course, would require that she move her business to a location within the city that is zoned for that purpose. For whatever reasons, Ms. Chu has not pursued that path. If she continues to be a restaurant and does not try to have promotional events in the daytime, as she did just a few months ago, there would be no reason to have a security plan that deals with the daytime hours of the business. However, until she demonstrates that, the police department could not recommend removing that provision. So staff's recommendation is that the City Council adopt the attached resolution modifying CUP 253-08 to substitute the revised and modified security plan in place of the security plan approved March 24, 2009, and maintaining the operating hours of Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Friday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 2 a.m., as part of the conditional use permit 253-08, revision 10, including the specific revisions that I just described to you, the wording changes that were in conflict with the current CUP. And that's the end of the staff report, and I stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Elizabeth Pinion.
Good evening, Mayor Dalton and City Council members. My name is Elizabeth Pinion, and I'm a resident and a homeowner who lives across the street from the Con Restaurant and Nightclub. I recently sent you a letter via email. I don't know if you had an opportunity to read it. It was kind of a long letter. But I want to take a few minutes to reiterate some of what I stated. First, I would like to thank you for your help in bringing more peace and quiet back to my neighborhood. Since your decision to change the hours to 8 to 11, there's been a significant decrease in the amount of loud music and noise disturbances from the Khan restaurant. After years of noise and other problems, my family and neighbors and I have enjoyed more evenings of quiet. And the change would not have occurred without your support, so I'm very grateful for your support. I'm here today to request that the hours of operation remain 8 to 11 p.m. It's taken a very long time for even minimal improvement, and I'm certain that if the previous hours were granted, that we would see a quick increase of all the noise and nuisance problems that we had before. From March through the November, all the noise and nuisance problems continued, mostly on the weekends, but there were occasions where it happened during the week as well. And I believe the Garden Grove and Santa Ana residents who live around the Khan have been very tolerant over the years of problems that we've had to endure. And I think that it's time that these issues were resolved. And I think the past few months have revealed a real solution. In the past few months, there have been fewer calls to police and fewer problems overall. And I think this clearly shows that the business works best as a restaurant and not a nightclub. Being in such close proximity to residences, it's practically in the neighborhood. And I believe this is not an appropriate location for a nightclub, and it's unfair to expect residents to continue to tolerate all the problems year after year. Besides the noise and traffic and nuisance issues, a nightclub so close to homes and families, it's just detrimental to a community where there are so many children and adolescents, especially considering the history of problems with underage drinking and adult-oriented activities. So in summary, I would like to again express my thanks to you for your help in improving the quality of life in my neighborhood. And I would like to request that the hours of operation remain 8 to 11 p.m. We would definitely not have our present level of peace and quiet without your help and the change in hours. My neighbors, family, and I only want the kind of neighborhood that most people enjoy and what we used to enjoy, a quiet, safe neighborhood. And in closing, I thank you for your time and attention and for considering the families and the individuals who live with the Khan restaurant year-round. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa Pignon.
Thank you, Mayor Dalton and City Council members. Without your help, this positive change wouldn't have taken place. Please continue to keep the hours and the conditions from 8 to 11. My concern is that returning to the old hours would be a return to the problems that we've seen in the past and increased police services. My concern stems from the results given in the update of progress on September 22nd. The good news was that there were less calls and that it appeared that it was operating more as a restaurant. But my concern lies with that the security plan wasn't in place, that there wasn't proof of the lead training for the employees, and the latter two, the security plan and the lead training, it is important to prevent problems and important to us as residents for public safety. So that was disappointing to hear that that wasn't in place. We really do need your support with this, and again, thank you.
Thank you. John Santos.
Thank you, Mayor Dalton and City Council members. I'm here on the behalf of Ken. I also am a sales manager for Linder's Furniture, which is based in Garden Grove. And I've had the pleasure of frequently visiting Ken over the last 3 years, and always have enjoyed the environment, always felt safe and secure in any function that we would have there. Great restaurant, great food, always great service. Unfortunately, one of the things that was unfortunate for the company is that we've on an annual basis, has, had our annual Christmas party there. Unfortunately, this year, due to the time constraints, that the CAN would not be able to accommodate our function. Due to that, we don't, we close our stores at a later hour, and by the time we had dinner and raffles, and by the time we got around to it, it's normally after 12 o'clock that we would be finishing up, and unfortunately they couldn't accommodate us this year, so we could not have our company function there. And it just has always been a pleasure to visit the establishment. Like I said, in any event that I've ever been there, I understand the concerns that some of the people around the area may have, but I've never had a negative experience at one point in this restaurant whatsoever. So I think that's all I have to say. I just wanted to come in and say something on the restaurant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no other cards. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this matter? Go ahead, Tony.
Good evening, gentlemen. Due to the calls for the noise, there was several times the officer came and told me about the noise, and they said that they even went across the street and listened, and they didn't hear any noise. And there was several times, 4 officers at 4 occasions told me that I don't know why she keep calling the police department, and even we went there, we didn't hear any noise, and they said that she called the police. Even her next door neighbor has the radio on. And for the lead training, the last October we made a reservation, but the training was closed for the year, and we registered for January. And our staff, due to the business decline, they left, and so now I have people signing up. I have make reservation for April, Monday, April the 5th, for lead training. And as for the sale radios to food and serve and alcohol, I thought I sent in you the tax and the radio of that to you, to Miss Susan Embry about a month ago.
What I received wasn't the audited financial statement. It was a tax return for the business, which doesn't identify how much food or liquor is being sold.
I thought it has that schedule in it.
I looked all through it. I didn't see it anywhere. I gave it to Erin Webb, and I'm not sure whether she had contacted you about it. But
No, she didn't.
Tax return and an audit financial statement are two different
I
items.
see.
So.
I didn't hear anything about that, so I thought it was approved by you, by the staff. I'm sorry about that. We'll try to get that to you as soon as we could. And due to the economy decline, our restaurant and club is 2 parts. We're paying 2 licenses, restaurant and club. We pay nightclub license, and what a nightclub that we cannot open 7 days a week until 2 o'clock. We don't have any business at all last year due to the hours and the business decline. So I'm begging you to let us open 7 days until 2 a.m.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here who'd like to speak on this matter? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Okay, anyone want to make a comment?
Well, I'd like to say that I'd like to go along with the police department. I think that Joe's gone through this very thoroughly, and he's not quick to give in on anything. So I think that certainly he's done a diligent job. So I'm going to support Joe's position.
Anyone else?
I'll make that a motion.
Want to hear those positions again? I want to hear those positions again. Are you keeping the security plans the hours, the two main things that I'm concerned about.
The recommendation to council, as written in the staff report, dated January 12, 2010, it is recommended the City Council adopt the attached resolution modifying CUP 253-08 to substitute the revised and modified security plan in place of the security plan approved on March 24th of last year, and maintaining the operating hours of Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Friday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. as part of conditional use permit CUP 253-08, with those exceptions that I highlighted on the attached security plan that are in direct conflict with the CUP. Does that make sense?
Yes. So the time is the same?
Time is the
Okay.
same.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Okay, the next item,
Mr. Mayor, your next item is a agreement with CompView, Inc. for the installation of a traffic management center. Oh, I'm sorry. Got to go back to Commission and Committee members' matters. You have a letter of resignation from Planning Commissioner Eugene Kirkham.
would you send a letter with, thanks for the service and our regrets that, I believe he's moving out of state, and that's the reason he's leaving the commission, but thank you for the years of service, and that's all we need for that, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay. Number 7A.
Okay, 7A is the agreement with CompView, Inc. for the installation of a traffic management center. And Dan Candelaria is here to give a staff report on this item.
Mr. Mayor, having obtained a state grant for $1.86 million, the city is in position to execute a contract to update and completely modernize its traffic management center. The new state-of-the-art traffic management center will fully utilize the city's recently installed fiber optic network to enhance the signal synchronization and operational effectiveness of traffic progression in the city, and thereby increase mobility and reduce travel times. The attached professional services agreement is a design-build contract. Staff performed a qualifications-based selection process and determined that CompView Incorporated is the most qualified consultant. Staff therefore recommends that City Council award a professional services contract to CompView Incorporated for the installation of the traffic management center. And that concludes staff's report.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? I have one. Is this all grant money?
That's correct, yes.
Boy, tomorrow would you start looking for some more money for anything for the city? And the grant money is great, if we get it, and it doesn't cost our citizens anything. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move the issue.
Second.
Have a motion, second, call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
7B.
Mr. Mayor, 7B is several items related to a proposed desalination project by Poseidon Resources Corporation in Huntington Beach, and Keith Jones is here to give you a staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Fertel. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, over the past several years, water reliability has lessened due to drought conditions and environmental restrictions with State Water Project. The Municipal Water District of Orange County and 10 participating retail agencies signed an MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, in May of 2008 with a private company known as Poseidon Resources Corporation. And this was to monitor the Huntington Beach Ocean Desalinization Project and negotiate a potential water purchase agreement with Poseidon for water delivered from this project. The project is located in Huntington Beach and will provide up to 50 million gallons of water per day, meeting state and federal drinking water standards. Poseidon will finance the project with the goal of negotiating long-term water purchasing agreements to sell water to interested water agencies, although that's not what we're here tonight for. We're here, and the city is interested in participating in monitoring this project to identify a potential alternative to water source competitively priced with import water from the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. And as you know, their rates continue to escalate. In order to monitor this project, including project costs, and be eligible for future water purchase agreements, Poseidon is requiring a letter of intent, confidentiality agreement, and an amendment to their memorandum of understanding, all of which are non-binding. We can withdraw at any time. Therefore, staff is recommending that City Council authorize the mayor to execute the MOU amendment and confidentiality agreement and authorize the city manager to sign a letter of intent. To complete staff's report, be happy to answer any questions.
Now, is it correct, or I believe I read in there that this has no impact on the general fund?
No, not at this time.
And you said that even though we may sign up for these things, in the event that we wanted to back out, we can at no penalties?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move the item.
Second.
Motion and second, call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Okay, I think that's everything for the council. Mr. Broadwater?
Well, I hope everybody had a happy New Year and a great Christmas, a fine holiday. Ours was, and I hope that the city has a very prosperous New Year. I know that we're going to have some tough battles with the state before this year is over with. They're saying that $20 billion in the hole. Anyway, I hope it works out.
Thank you, Ms. Wynn.
Vote of confidence.
Yes, Happy New Year to everyone in Garden Grove. And don't forget to buy in Garden Grove. We have seen a report on the sales tax going down 24% from last year, and that's a big hit on us. So we just have to remember not to drive across that borderline of Garden Grove and try to get whatever we need in Garden Grove. Also, I wanted to thank staff for a very service-oriented year. I've seen a lot of improvements from the residents regarding the counter help, and as well as information that you got out there. You got a lot of information on the internet, and if the residents would like to have more information about the things happening in the city, go on to our city website, and also our water bill. That's a new item on the water bill. We put a lot of information there. I also want to remind everyone that Edible Arrangements is hosting a chamber mixer Wednesday on January 20th, 2010, and you can try to find their location on the web if you don't remember tonight, 12781 Harbor Boulevard on January 20th. And you can also contact our Garden Grove Chamber of Commerce for the time. I don't have the time. And thanks again to staff.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
I presume that the events of the roller coaster of 2009 probably put in the framework of a foundation for a recovery looking forward. I sure hope we experience some of that more visibly in 2010. I presume we will. Albeit, I don't anticipate a smooth sailing kind of a recovery, probably a rocky road and a lot of uncertainties still out there in how things play out. But nonetheless, I'm optimistic heading into 2010. I think local agencies kind of lag the general economy in some senses. So like Mr. Broadwater said, we still have some pressure from the state trying to balance their budget on our shoulders, and we're going to fight that battle this year, among others. But anyways, I'm looking forward to keeping our sleeves rolled up and seeing what we can do to survive and hopefully take advantage of opportunities forward-looking coming out of this in 2010. And then also just regards to Gene Kirkham. He's a good guy. He's a Garden Grove guy, and he was a dedicated planning commissioner, and it was a joy and an honor to have him on there. So we wish him the best as he moves on and moves out of town.
Mr. Dell?
I agree with that. Gene Kirkham was a great asset to our community.
He has always been involved and really volunteer a lot of his time for the good of the city. We will miss him, and it's a big loss for our city. I wish everyone a Happy New Year, and with the prognosis for our economy, both nationally and our state, coming up, regrettably, I think 2010 and possibly even 2011 may even be even perhaps a little bit worse. So I want to remind everyone to keep the spirit of charity and giving even after the holiday season. I think there will be a lot of people who will continue to suffer, to be out of a job, and so whatever we can do to help our neighbors get through this period a little bit more easily, we should keep that in mind. So Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you. I, too, would like to thank Gene Kirkham. He did an outstanding job, and believe me, I mean, he was kind of Mr. Garden Grove when it came to the Planning Commission and what direction the city was going and everything, and he will be sorely missed. I'm hopeful everybody had a Happy New Year. Times aren't good. I think that they are going to get better, but I have to commend our staff because through thick and thin, I mean, if you look in the other room, there's a ton of people here that are reporting on items, that are talking about staff reports, and they're not getting paid to be there. I mean, they're here because this is what's required for the council and for the public. And I tell you, just like we talked a few minutes ago about a $1 million grant, our people are always looking at whatever grants are available. And believe me, they're as competitive as anyone else. And we try to do that. We try to get things that improve the whole city at no cost to us. I mean, indirectly, you could probably say it is our money, and it's probably money the state or the feds or somebody stole from us anyway, but hopefully we can get some of it back. But one thing I have to say about Garden Grove is that even if there is doom and gloom, we don't sit in our doldrums and say, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We're looking ahead. We're planning, okay, fine. The economy is going to pick up, but what are we going to do today? If someone says, fine, you build a hotel and it takes 4 years, well, you don't start 4 years from now because it's another 4 years after that. What you have to do is you have to look at things now. You cut corners where you can, and I have to commend our whole staff from the city manager on down. City clerk, everybody does that. City attorney, I mean, these people are here. They do a heck of a job. And, when times get tough, it's easy to start pointing fingers and saying, we'll do this and do that. And hindsight is 20/20. But we have some of the finest people in the county, if not the state, that work for this city and with us and to make it a better place. And I think they do a good job, and I'm going to give them a round of applause. That having been said, again, Happy New Year to everyone, and we're going to adjourn to a closed session item for the agency. We will have our next council meeting Tuesday, January 20th. Thank you.